deep inside Pakistan this morning and struck the Lashkar, struck the Jaish-e-Mohammed, struck the Hizbul Mujahideen. And I have breaking news now coming in. Exclusive pictures of the Lashkar headquarters and how the Pakistan army is shielding the Lashkar terrorists after Operation Sindoor. Exclusive images that are in the possession of Republic TV team right now. Video of mass funeral. Mass funerals, look at that. Mass funerals being conducted in Pakistan, and count the number of khaki Pakistani army losers behind the Lashkar terrorists. Count them on your screens right now. Look at the Lashkar terrorists. That's Hafiz Abdul Rauf. Hafiz Abdul Rauf is a Lashkar terrorist wanted by India. Missed our missiles by a whisker. By a whisker he escaped. But many of his accomplices, many of his terrorist partners in arms did not escape. They have been sent back in those coffins. The mass funeral that was held earlier today. These are pictures from the Lashkar headquarters where India managed to eliminate several terrorists. Look at those pictures of the mass funerals. The coffins being carried by the Pakistan army, by the Pakistan police, by men in uniform in Pakistan, carrying terrorists on their shoulders. What a shame. This is why India struck these terrorists in Pakistan. Ladies and gentlemen, as we get you these pictures once more, these are the visuals that tell you why India struck Pakistan. It's a clean image. Look at that. Clean image of Pakistan military officials attending the funeral. These are exclusive pictures, by the way. Exclusive pictures on Republic TV. On This Is Exclusive. This evening, video of the mass funeral. Exclusive pictures on Republic of the mass funerals that are underway. Mass funeral that are underway. Corps Commander of Lahore present at the mass funeral. Chief Secretary and the Commissioner of Lahore Division, the Pakistan bureaucracy that doesn't exist on paper, here present at the mass funeral. All of them present in the mass funeral. Pakistan Army in the mass funeral, Pakistan ISI in the mass funeral, that is Hafiz Abdul Rauf, the Lashkar terrorist. And as we speak, these are pictures that we have access of the mass funerals that took place a little after 4 p.m. in Pakistan. This is the headquarters of the Jaish-e-Mohammed in Bahawalpur, where Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorists were also operating. And these are pictures of the Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorist who was spotted. I have some more breaking news updates coming in. Let's move on now. And we have some more good news, ladies and gentlemen, as India strikes Pakistan. A confirmation coming in from the terrorist himself, Masood Azhar, IC-814 hijacker. IC-814 hijacker Masood Azhar himself has admitted that his family members have been eliminated in the strike on the Markaz Subhanallah. Markaz Subhanallah, the Jaish-e-Mohammed camp in Bahawalpur, Punjab, Pakistan. Masood Azhar has now confirmed that his family has been wiped out. Masood Azhar's family, he says, 10 members of my family have been wiped out. Masood Azhar is the IC-814 hijacker. He remains to be the chief of the Jaish-e-Mohammed under protective custody of Pakistani authorities at an undisclosed location in Pakistan. Whether he was in Islamabad, whether he was in Rawalpindi, or whether he was in Bahawalpur in Punjab, Pakistan, is something we don't know. But we struck Bahawalpur, his headquarters, his home was hit by Indian missiles early this morning. And Masood Azhar himself, who has been in the past shielded by China when it came to the UN, even China shielded Masood Azhar. He has not been spared by our Indian missiles. His family members have been eliminated. Let's look at all the different locations that have been struck by India in the last 24 hours, a little after midnight, between 1:05 and 1:30 this morning in the wee hours. And we've been live since 1:30 this morning, ladies and gentlemen, since the first pictures came out here on Republic TV. And we will be non-stop Since the 22nd of April, we've dropped all programming to remain on the aftermath of Pahalgam terror attack, and we have struck Pakistan. These are the areas where we have struck Pakistan. Bahawalpur is where Masood Azhar's camp was located. He has been hit by Indian missiles. Gulpur struck Muridke. Lashkar-e-Toiba base struck Kotli, struck Muzaffarabad. In POK struck Bimbar, struck Chak Amru, struck a camp near Sialkot, also struck. But the most striking aspect is India moving deep inside Pakistan territory to strike areas like Bahawalpur. And I have some more details coming in. Let me show you the different details of the different targets. The different targets that we have hit. Now what I will do is I have the before and after pictures of each of these targets. Each targets that were struck by India. And the beautiful aspect of this particular retaliation, the revenge by India, is that we have released proof so that nobody asks for sabut anymore. All the targets on your screen: terrorist camp destroyed in Bimbar, POK. Let's show the pictures, the proof that has been put out by our forces, one after the other. Target number 4, a terrorist camp in Kotli Abbas. That is the map. I have the before and after images as well. But first up, the different targets that were hit on your screen right now. That's Sayyidina Bilal in POK, Jaish-e-Mohammed camp. Before and after, before the strike, when we were monitoring the terror activity on the left of your screen, on the right of your screen, the aftermath of the attacks mapped through visuals. Next, Kotli Gulpur in POK, Jaish-e-Mohammed base. Before, while it was being monitored, on the right, that's a live image that we have put out, UAV tracker of when we struck. There is a missile striking. Next, look at this, Bimbar in POK, Lashkar-e-Toiba camp. On the left of your screen, how our forces were monitoring this particular location. On the right of your screen, I want to stay on this because you can see the missiles being dropped in this particular visual on the right. On the right of your screen, ladies and gentlemen, you see that missile being dropped with love from India, striking the heart of Lashkar-e-Toiba. The most defining image, as we kept dropping those missiles one after the other. Let's show you that visual once again. This image, look at that, the visual captured from a drone UAV as the missiles were being dropped by India. This was in Bimbar as Lashkar-e-Toiba camps were being hit. Let's move on now and let's get to the other before and after contrast of what we were monitoring, what we have struck. On the left of your screen, this is Kotli Abbas in POK, Jaish-e-Mohammed camp being tracked by our agencies in an operation spearheaded by NSA Ajit Doval. On the right of your screen, more proof of how we hit them. The visual showing where we hit, how we hit. On the left of your screen now, Sarjal in Sialkot, Sarjal camp in Sialkot, Pakistan. How we tracked it. On the right, the aftermath. Visual proof of Indian missiles striking the Jaish-e-Mohammed camp. Next, let's show you the next one. Mehmoona in Joya, Pakistan. When we were tracking the NTRO and all our agencies, intel agencies had mapped the exact terror camp. And on the right of your screen, that's a real time. Look at that, the missile gliding down. The missile gliding down and striking the Hizbul Mujahideen camp with love from India. This is real-time footage that was captured as the missiles were being dropped. Next, the Muridke camp of the Lashkar-e-Toiba, the headquarters. Look at that. Before and after. On the left of your screens, us mapping the exact locations that had to be it. On the right of your screen, in Muridke, Pakistan, that is the visual proof of the missiles dropping down on the Lashkar-e-Toiba. Visual proof released by our forces in the joint briefing. This is Bahawalpur in Pakistan, the Jaish-e-Mohammed headquarters. On the left of your screen, the mapping of the targets that we had to go after. On the right of your screen, visual proof of how we hit them. 24 targets that have been hit, ladies and gentlemen. And it's revenge, sweet revenge for a country that was toying with India, for a Hamas-like strike. And here on this show and on this channel, we have been making comparisons of how a Hamas-like strike was carried out in Kashmir. In Israel, Look at how the Hamas attacked. In Pahalgam, a similar Hamas-like attack took place. Israel similarly resorted to precision strikes on the Hamas, continues to target Hezbollah and Hamas terrorists. On the right of your screen, Hamas-style response from India as the precision strikes hit Lashkar, Jaish-e-Mohammed and Hizbul Mujahideen camps. All the 9 targets. And let's now show you. And when you look at these strikes, the biggest, look at all the responses we've given, ladies and gentlemen, in the last 9 years. Post-Uri attack, post-Pulwama, and then post-Pahalgam. Let's start with Uri attack. September 18, 2016, the Uri attack. Exactly in 10 days, we hit back. We struck back, not strike back, we'll just change that. It struck back. We struck back in 10 days in 2016 on the 28th of September. That was the Uri attack. Our surgical strikes were a response as we struck back in 10 days. Let's show you the next Pulwama response. When Pakistan sent terrorists to target our forces in Pulwama on the 14th of February 2019, we responded in 12 days. On the 26th of February, we struck Balakot with precision strike. We captured proof of it through satellite imagery. But many in India came out and asked, where is the sabut? Pakistan claimed nothing was hit. So what we did next, after Pahalgam, is that we launched Operation Sindoor. That is after the Pahalgam terror attack. Let's show you the third instance of India's response. Precision strikes, surgical strike. You had Balakot strike and then Operation Sindoor, the precision strikes by India. After Pahalgam, the multiple air raids, not just in POK, but even in Pakistan. We have responded in 15 days. And when you look at the entire operation, ladies and gentlemen, in the last 3 days, the role of a man called Ajit Doval, India's national security advisor, has played a critical role, has masterminded, has spearheaded Operation Sindoor with a hand-picked team, his core team monitoring the minute-by-minute operation. He gave the final go-ahead. Of course, he was briefing the Prime Minister at every given point. NSA Ajit Doval spearheaded Operation Sindoor as we struck POK and Pakistan and went after their terror camps. The final go-ahead for the operation came from NSA Ajit Doval, who kept briefing the Prime Minister at every single point. A hand-picked team chosen for Operation Sindoor. My colleague Abhishek breaks it down perfectly.
It is said that when he speaks, it's intelligence, but when he is silent, it's war. And that's exactly what happened. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, the man who sits at the helm of India's national security architecture, kept mum all through these days since the Pahalgam terror attack. No speaking, no addressing, not seen in meetings beyond the 2 Cabinet Committee on Security meetings that took place, in where he played an active role, briefing the Prime Minister about what were the possibilities, what were the options. Remember, the first CCS took place on April 23, a day after the dastardly Pahalgam terror attack, where the NSA was seen animatedly explaining to the Prime Minister what all had happened and what had to be done or could be done. Prime Minister gave the brief to the CCS that they should come back with clear options. The national security team, led by Ajit Doval, and of course, which includes the Chief of Defence Staff, the 3 service chiefs of the Army, Navy, Air Force, and of course the other agencies which play a crucial role in information gathering. The Research and Analysis Wing, RAW as it is called, India's External Intelligence Agency, the IB, which takes care of intelligence within, the NTRO, which is a crucial arm of RAW, which gathers TACINT, which is technological intelligence, and of course ISRO, which gathers satellite data. Everyone was involved, including the BSF, because they have ground intelligence along the border, because they are the active force in peacetime along India's international border. And that's where all the data gathering began, information gathering began, validation of whatever intelligence that agencies already had began. And by the time the second CCS happened on April 29, the plan was in place. The options were in place for the Prime Minister to give a go-ahead, which he did, following which he made a address where he said that a free hand had been given to forces to avenge the Pahalgam terror attack, and that's when the contours of Operation Sindoor started taking shape. So obviously no one would speak and this never happens. But then you saw in terms of those hints coming in of the policy of hot pursuit about which Prime Minister spoke while he was in Bihar, that India is going to chase the perpetrators of Pahalgam terror attack till the end of the earth, as also target the soil from which those attacks emanated. Message was clear that India yet again would go after Pakistan, its terror proxies, and all the infrastructure that operates from Pakistani soil. Operation Sindoor was essentially about collating all data, gathering all intelligence, connecting the dots, and then zeroing down on specific targets, the organizations, the individuals, the places, the locations, everything intelligence based and not in any manner indiscriminate. And that really lends value and a moral cover to the operation that India has carried out by way of Operation Sindoor. It was carried out in a manner that Pakistan was clearly foxed. So be it India's mobilization of its naval force and carrying out of live fire exercises in the Arabian Sea with great numbers of warships mobilized, be it India's air exercises that were carried out in the central sector, giving Pakistan some confusion about what all India was up to while the borders remained silent. And the reason why the borders were silent were because the army was carrying out a plan. The targets were to be hit with kamikaze drones and with the beyond visual range missiles of the Indian Air Force, and no passing off, crossing of the border or the LOC. Those targets were hit, and how? Look at the pictures that have come in that give you an idea of the kind of precision with which the Operation Sindoor has been executed. Those pictures that were shared by India with the rest of the world in that press briefing by the Ministry of Defense and Ministry of External Affairs. Behind all this was the man and the mind of that man, National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, who was up all night, and the moment the operation was executed, he was working the phones to give a diplomatic edge to India, speaking to as many as dozen odd national security advisors of these nations, his respective counterparts from the United States, from the United Kingdom, from Japan to South Korea, France, and of course, crucially, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates in West Asia. NSA Doval then, of course, readied for a briefing of the Cabinet Committee on Security, the third one, in which success was announced, following which, of course, Prime Minister in the Cabinet congratulated our armed forces. That's how Operation Sindoor was executed, in complete silence, with great resolve, and of course, the wherewithal and the superior competence of India's armed forces, and more crucially, our security intelligence apparatus held by National Security Advisor Ajit Doval.
So India put out the official details of Operation Sindoor, at least what we could put out officially this morning at 10:30 a.m. in a joint briefing between the MOD and the MEA. We sent a symbolic message in that briefing. Here's why. As India revealed the details of its precision strikes under Operation Sindoor, two commanding voices stood at the forefront, not only representing the might of the Indian armed forces, but also marking a powerful moment in the evolution of military leadership in India. Colonel Sophia Qureshi of the Indian Army and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh of the Indian Air Force co-led The high-stakes media briefing along with the MEA sending a clear message that women in uniform are not just participating in defense, they will be leading it. Let's start with Colonel Sophia Qureshi. A decorated officer from the Corps of Signals, Colonel Sophia Qureshi brings decades of operational insight and strategic experience. Born in Gujarat to a proud military lineage, she was commissioned through the Officers Training Academy or the OTA. She holds a postgraduate degree in biochemistry, a rare blend of scientific discipline, tactical brilliance. Her career studded with trailblazing milestones. In 2016, she became the first woman to lead an Indian Army contingent in a multinational military exercise called Exercise Force 18, with participation from almost 18 ASEAN plus countries. She was also the first woman contingent commander at the event, drawing admiration both at home and abroad. Her global experience also includes a significant tenure as a UN military observer in Congo in 2006, followed by continued peacekeeping duties. On the domestic front, Colonel Qureshi has led operations in counter-insurgency zones and spearheaded flood relief missions, earning multiple commendations for her bravery and leadership. She is married to Major Tajuddin Qureshi of the Mechanized Infantry and mother to a young son. She embodies resilience in and out of uniform. And as the Operation Sindoor briefing progressed, she stated firmly that the mission aimed to break the backbone of terror, an assertion that echoed both strategic intent and moral clarity.
ऑपरेशन सिंदूर 22 अप्रैल को पहलगाम में हुए विभत्स आतंकवादी हमले के शिकार मासूम नागरिकों व उनके परिवारों को न्याय देने के लिए लॉन्च किया गया था। इस कार्रवाई में 9 टेररिस्ट कैंप्स को टारगेट किया गया और पूरी तरह से इसे बर्बाद किया गया। पाकिस्तान में पिछले 3 दशकों से टेरर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का निर्माण हो रहा है। इसमें रिक्रूटमेंट, इंडोक्ट्रिनेशन सेंटर्स, ट्रेनिंग एरियाज व लॉन्च पैड शामिल थे, जो पाकिस्तान और पाक अधिकृत जम्मू कश्मीर POJK दोनों में फैले हैं।
Sharing the dais with Colonel Qureshi was Wing Commander Vyomika, a helicopter pilot in the Indian Air Force, known for her nerves of steel, a trailblazing spirit, a first-generation officer. She received her commission in 2019 with a permanent commission in the flying branch. She's an engineer by education, NCC alumnus. She has had a long dream of taking to the skies, a destiny in her name, Vyomika, meaning daughter of the sky. With over 2,000 flying hours on the Chetak and Cheetah helicopters, Wing Commander Vyomika has operated across India's most challenging terrains, from the snow-clad peaks of Kashmir to the rugged landscapes of the Northeast. In 2021, she was part of a landmark all-women tri-services expedition to Mount Manirang, ascending to over 21,000 feet, a feat itself that earned her praise from top defense officials, including the Chief of Air Staff. Calm under pressure, clear in conviction, Wing Commander Vyomika used the briefing this morning to highlight India's preparedness to respond to any misadventure by Pakistan, while stressing on the systemic support that Pakistan provides and has been providing to terror networks over the years. Now, her words today were both a warning and a reaffirmation of India's strategic resolve.
A niche technology weapons with careful selection of warheads was ensured so that there will be no collateral damage. The point of impact in each of the target was a specific building or a group of buildings. All the targets were neutralized with clinical efficiency, and the results reiterate the professionalism of the Indian Armed Forces in the planning and execution of their operations. No military establishments were targeted. India has demonstrated considerable restraint in its response. However, it must be said that the Indian Armed Forces are fully prepared to respond to Pakistani misadventures, if any, that will escalate the situation.
The presence of Colonel Qureshi and Wing Commander Vyomika at the helm of Operation Sindoor media briefing, more than symbolic, it is historic. It marks a definitive shift in the narrative of India's military leadership, with women not just serving on the front lines, but shaping the national security strategy at the highest levels. Their leadership sent a message to the world and to every aspiring young woman in India that the defense of the nation is not bound by gender, it's defined by grit, excellence, and unwavering duty.
In the global employability rankings by Times Higher Education UK, only the following 6 institutions from India are ranked amongst the top 230 in the world for having the most employable graduates: IIT Delhi, IISc Bangalore, IIT Bombay, IIM Ahmedabad, IIT Kharagpur and Amity University.